Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
All right, guys, it is the 28th. We got the PCE price index. Market extremely sensitive to anything to do with inflation right now. So we can get this number. It's a number that the Federal Reserve very much looks at. And as we're going into it right now, quick look here, the S&P 500 is just tanking. Well, maybe it's not tanking, but it was a pretty aggressive down move for the time period. Coming into yesterday pretty flat, a little bit of a, this is the overnight. Yesterday, we came up, but then there was a little bit of a comeback, and then like right into the close, there was like this insane action. Watching it, I was like, what the heck is going on? It was just going. I don't know. That might be options related, but you know, we're probably going to be really close to the 4,200 level, right? Why is that still there? I got rid of you. Okay. Treasuries ended up pushing down off of information about Joe Biden's tax plan and so forth. And it kind of ranged the rest of the day. And that was kind of the news all over. Like some of this down movement here later in the session was because of further information about Joe Biden's tax plan. And there will be a presentation about it today, which could also cause some volatility. Oil did pretty well yesterday. Gold and silver still kind of, I don't know. They're not too great past 2 days, but it's not necessarily the end of the world either. Copper. So Goldman Sachs is still pretty positive on copper, despite the Chinese kind of clamping down on it. Why am I keep popping the microphone? So they expect that the supply will continue to be tight. Okay, so we're gonna get PCE price index month over month. The number we're looking for, spot 6. What happened to your sound? Does the microphone sound different? That should be the same. Double check in here. I got all the filters on. Gus says no. Okay, here we go. In line with the forecast. So the baby was, hold on a second. The text-to-speech thing got deleted. So let's fix that. Then we get back here to the market. So the E-mini seems to be taking off here. Yeah, so I sold it, like there was a reflexive sell by the market and I followed it. And then as soon as I heard the number, I was like, what the fuck? That's not right. So that sucks, but that was only 3 ticks. Could have gotten back in at like over here. Jeez. Okay. Okay, so you're saying number is 1.8. Yeah, you're looking at the year-over-year number. Blank screen on purpose. Yeah, I had to fix something. But now I cannot find. Sometimes it doesn't show every. There it is. Okay. Now we're good to go. So let me review the number here for you. So the PCE price, actual was spot 7. Why did I hear spot 5? Oh, personal spending was spot 5, in line with expectation. Core PCE price index spot 7 versus a forecast spot 6. Goods trades balance negative 85 spot 2 versus forecast 92 spot 0. Personal income down 13 spot 1% versus a forecast 14 spot 2. But you are probably thinking about the year-over-year number here. Where do I have that? Year-over-year was 3 spot 1. Yep. So the market seemed to be reacting somewhat positively to it. So sorry about having some technical issues there. It's like, that's not what we want at all. Oh, sorry, I got to change this back around. So it was a little too tight. Where did you get the other? Well, so I go to forexfactory.com is a great place to look. But I use Financial Juice, so. On Financial Juice, you can basically set up alerts to tell you to buy it or sell it based on how far it is from the release. And that's what I use. Fixed mindset cannot be successful in trading. Most people have fixed mindsets. Yeah. I don't know what you're saying there.
Sway says Oneil 40k Ganayo?
She reads it out. That's funny. Gotta pop my ears there. So I think what happened there was that somebody expected that the number was going to be lower than expected and dumped when it didn't happen, and that's what pushed us down. That must be what happened. That was, that news right there that we just had was like one of the biggest duds we've ever had. So like when the numbers were released, it came down there. It shouldn't have. There was a real market inefficiency there, and I followed it. So I felt dumb. It was a limited, I fixed my mistake very quickly, so I think we're okay. Shall we go up 40K by? You're talking about Bitcoin, aren't you? You're coming in here and talking about Bitcoin, eh? It was not a very good action in the overnight in the ES, was it, by the way? You know what I think is happening? Theory. Don't really know, but theory. Theory is that the buying has been by like first-time buyers over here. Like I don't think, just doesn't seem to have oomph. And look, the futures, ever since that event, futures down. Makes you wonder. I mean, my based on my metrics, I'm not a pattern trader, but the pattern is that it will completely collapse, and it hasn't completely collapsed yet. But I'm not confident enough on that to make a bet on it. If I had made a trade on it, I would have taken profits that one day, I think new big buyers lifting the bed and Bitcoin. When you guys say stuff like that, it's useful if you just be more, type it all out. Because I might not necessarily know what you were talking about. People get off sync and everything, so it's always best to just fill in those subjects. Oh, in ES? So, yeah, we should bring this down. So what I saw in ES was that they did come in and buy it. Yeah. So some informed trading going long, but then it very much cooled off. So for the E-mini, here's the thing, is that in the E-mini, because the PCE number was in line with expectations, I don't think that really changes a whole lot for the S&P 500. It does for the Treasuries, because for the Treasuries are much more sensitive to the inflation, right? The bigger thing for the E-mini now is going to become the Chicago PMI, which is released at 9:45. So in an hour from now. And that one, I listen closely because I'm not going to say it again. That number is released early. That number is released 3 minutes early to subscribers. So you will see a little bit of a move before it. And sometimes people don't notice and you can take a trade off of it. I chipped a nail and I'm contemplating cutting it. So it's driving me crazy. I'm going to do it. All right. Well, so the Treasuries are sitting up there kind of just off the highs, but not going for the next price there. But look at the profile, very flat and random. News Squawk says on Twitter, "Do you lot not get bored of writing highest since ? It sure has been like that lately, hasn't it? I am just all sorts of uncomfortable. I am just not in the mode yet, man. Major Retailer Green saying stuff again. The Democrats, they have something they love to do to men. They want to take away their masculinity. So, I haven't given you my honest opinion on Major Taylor Greene. So you want to know what my honest opinion of Major Taylor Greene is? She seems like somebody that thinks she knows what's going on, but really doesn't. That she will read headlines and she will read things going, headlines and stuff from her bubble, which is a very biased news source, and thinks that she has a really good idea of what the cross section of political opinions is out there, and she really doesn't. And so she has this caricature of Democrats and what they think and how they're behaving that is not accurate. And so she keeps saying dumb stuff that is just not like, trashing Democrats that just aren't true to what the majority of Democrats really think. And she gets attention for it. But I don't think that she really truly understands. She's basically like the Republican NPC. She is the yin for the yang, in my opinion. Yeah, but here's the thing: is that Ocasio-Cortez is different. It's a different problem. It's quite interesting, that dichotomy. So I say Marjorie Taylor Greene is an NPC. I don't think that Ocasio-Cortez is an NPC. She was very much handpicked, and they definitely play the media game with her. But she does think for herself. The problem with Ocasio-Cortez, the problem with many Democrats, is that so much of what they think they know is just not true, right? So I told you guys about this one yesterday, but I'll share it again because I made a comment on TikTok. So this guy was complaining about houses, and he was saying there's no reason for houses to be expensive. There's plenty of houses out there. And I said, that's not true. They're expensive because there's not enough of them. And they're more expensive compared to the houses that our parents bought on an inflation adjusted basis, because the houses that we make today are nicer. I didn't, so he responded to that comment and gave me a chance to like stitch it, but my video didn't catch much traction. So I just keep getting this mass of people liking and or replying to that comment with misinformation. So the biggest piece of misinformation that I see them say is there are 14 million vacant homes in the United States, and that is more than there are homeless people in the United States. Well, if you think that there are 14 million homes just sitting there, nobody in them, that the homeless could make a long-term home in, you're kidding yourself. Like, that I can't believe how anybody would think that and not go, there must be something wrong with my thinking. I must be misunderstanding this, because don't you just think that sounds a little bit too fantastic to be true? Well, it is. So there's a natural turnover rate in the market, and it's that happens to coincide with that number, essentially. So there, some of those houses are like abandoned and unlivable. Some of them are like in court proceedings, and then a third of them are just the houses that, you know, they moved and they're still selling it or whatever the deal is. And so there's just a natural turnover. So there's not this massive houses out there that nobody's living in, right? And furthermore, houses that we build today are nicer. So you can't go and compare like what a house was worth in the 50s, okay? The house today is like 60% larger. A house today includes all sorts of really nice appliances, refrigerators, etc., that are more expensive than they were back then, and people didn't have those back then. Back then, you didn't have the fridge come with the house. It didn't come with like a stove range and all of those things. NPC is a colloquial term related to a non-player controlled characters in video games. Yeah. It's not necessarily so much that they are programmed to represent a side of politics. It's more like they have reactions to certain things that it almost seems like they can't control. They have reactions to things that make no logical sense, and that they like literally can't control. And if you point out the contradictions in those responses that they have, it's just like their brain just like goes, it's like they have an error fault. It's like the program like short circuits, and they get super upset. This is a real thing for sure, right? There's all these things about like the masks and everything else. Like when we get out of this, you know, I don't want to spread misinformation about the science behind coronavirus or anything like that. So I'm not going to get into the science, but I am going to go as far as to say that I do think that there have been a lot of public reactions that were overreactions, right? And now that they're taking off the mask mandate, for instance, and everything else, I think that the history is going to show that some of the reactions that we had were overreactions. And of course, it's always going to be a mixed bag, right? It's always going to be a complicated thing. There were probably some things that we weren't, like initially when the virus wasn't here yet. Remember when it was in China and we're like, oh, it's just in China. It's not going to come here and it's no big deal. They're making it seem like it's worse than it really is and all that stuff. Well, I think we were wrong about that one. I remember joking about it here on the stream. We were dead wrong on that one. Stop being invested in COVID. That's why I learned at this point COVID isn't relevant to me at all. Yeah. Well, for if you live in Florida or Texas, I don't know, man. This is just another one of those cases, Uzi, where you and I, living in states that are controlled by Republicans, cannot possibly understand what it's like to be a person that lives in Michigan right now, for instance. Michigan being, I think, was the most, what is the word? Most restrictive state, right? Or California. I don't think we know what it's like at all. Same with the whole thing about people working, not working. I don't think that's as much of a thing in Utah. I don't think that they had to get rid of the unemployment benefit. I don't think that we're one of the states that got rid of the unemployment benefit, and I don't seem to see a lack of staff when I go to restaurants and stuff. But, in a place like California, that's probably a thing. Right? And I can't even, because I'm not seeing it around me, it's really hard to relate to it, Cognitive disconnect, cognitive dissonance, critical thinking skills not quite turned up enough, trust but not verify. Well, yeah, so 12-year-old children must be vaccinated in Germany. This is done only because it is necessary. Really? By the way, did you read there was a story about the blood clots in the vaccine? Did you hear about this? That it had to do with how it was, how the vaccine was delivered, and in some it was going into the nucleus of the cell, and that's what was causing the blood clots. So they think that all they have to do is change the sequence, and it fixes it. This is a German researcher that claims this. There's some skepticism about it. There's another researcher that claims that he's wrong, but I thought that was interesting. The risk of getting blood clots apparently very, very low, but just that alone makes you wonder. Why was I bringing that up? Oh, because Tommy was saying you got to vaccinate the kids. Yeah. The length and frequency of lockdowns will be positively correlated to how progressive a government is. Yep. And no, there was a study out the other day that suggested that masks were not effective and that there was no statistical difference between states that masked early or late or any of that. One study. There's probably some flaws in that study. You say progressivism relates to safetyism? I'm not sure if that's explicitly true. So something that I've had a really hard time sorting out is that, remember early on I said that Republicans tend to be less open, and less open traits from an evolutionary psychology view relates to, aversion to outsiders and people that are different from you, because they're more likely to carry diseases and so forth that you don't have immunity to. And so my theory was that less open people would be more concerned by the virus, and that those people are Republicans. And then, Donald Trump was the one that was finally coming out and said, okay, like, we should lock down and stuff. Because I think at the time that he did it, there was some people that had been calling for lockdowns earlier, true, but they were like a very small minority of people. And a lot of people, but Republicans in particular, I think were kind of skeptical about how big of a deal it was. Right. So then when Donald Trump came in and said that we need to lock things down, I kind of thought, oh, well, people are going to fight against that. Like, the Democrats are going to say that he's overreacting. But then something really weird happened, right? Which was that we went through the lockdown, and then Donald Trump was very anxious to unlock down. And because he was very anxious to unlock down, the Democrat people, kind of went the other way. You shouldn't lock it down. But then overall, it seems to me that my theory, that the hypothesis that Republicans were, because of personality traits, were more likely to be concerned about the virus, did not pan out at all, did it? It was incorrect. And when we look at this sequence of political events, can we is there an answer as to why my hypothesis ended up being wrong related to the politics of it? Well, the politics there were involved, but I don't think that explains it. So that brings me to the theory that Uzi just kind of expressed there, which is that the progressives seemed to be more apt towards, the safety argument. I think that that's true, but I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what it is in them that seems to get them to think that, like, that sort of thing is okay, because they certainly don't trend that direction on other issues, right? Like the border, for instance. Why are they not, super, we need to protect everybody and do the safe thing when it comes to the border? Why were they not like that when it came to issues like public safety with the police and this whole, like, defund the police? Why aren't they trending towards protect public safety? You get what I mean? It's a contradiction. I can't explain it. The safetyism of progressivism runs into a snag when it comes to policy involving race. So you think that if it was, so are you saying if Mexico was a country of white people, that Democrats would not have the race issue to say that, like, everything else about Mexico is the same except for that they have white skin? Okay. You're saying that they would be very much in favor of aggressively policing the border? I don't know. Because almost every political discussion that I can think of involving a difference between conservatives and progressives, it's always the conservatives that are the ones that are in favor of law and order and safety. and progressives are the ones that think that, have you ever heard them talk about Canada's border? No, I have not. Let's see. Win says, this is why you see the political ads on the right will stress discuss, and the ads tapped into the disgust factor. The others, liberal, are more inclusive, open to others' moral foundations. That was the theory. That was the theory, but the way that they react to the virus doesn't line up with that, does it? The Republicans were the ones that were displaying the openness traits, and the liberals were not. Uzi says, so you have your answer. So he's well, I was asking that question to see if I understood your point correctly. I wasn't endorsing it. I was just seeing if I understood your theory correctly. You think that as it pertains to the border, and any time it has to do with people that aren't white, that supersedes their desire for safety. Let's modify what he was saying. So Uzi was saying that the critical race theory explicitly states that whites are superior oppressors. That's not a completely. I think we need to modify that a little bit, because I don't think that that's fair to what they actually believe. I think that they believe that whites are have privilege, that they have cultural privilege that helps them be more successful in life. That's what they get to. Liberals and conservatives rely on a different set of moral foundations. Well, that is true as well, but I don't think that that's worth playing into it here. This nose really itches. I just want to go in there and just scrape the side of my nose, but there's nothing there. It just itches. Okay, so on the moral foundations thing, there's definitely a thing. And when you look at the way the arguments that the liberals and conservatives makes about certain things, you can definitely see that. In particular, when it comes down to what is the one, one of them is loyalty, and one of them is what do they call it, sanctity, or the idea that certain things are deserving of respect. You can definitely see it in those arguments. Liberals seem to have no respect for anything when they make these kinds of arguments. Okay, but there's another side to it too, which is that the far left, and I'm not talking about the Democrat Party in general, but the far left has this kind of ideology that is because the people that are in power are the oppressors. Anything that they think or that favors them is evil, and anything that other people believe or that oppressed groups believe or that helps oppressed groups is good and virtuous. And so they end up having these weird. So then you get into these strange moral situations where it's this guy that literally broke into a woman's house and held her up with a knife and committed all of these heinous crimes, is revered as a saint by them. Is what the heck? But that's where it comes from. But as it applies to personality traits, in particular, the openness personality trait doesn't seem to line up. It doesn't seem to line up. So Uzi has one theory. I'd say that is an okay theory. I'm trying to think about is there a case where I can blow up that theory? So where was it an instance where progressives showed less openness and I couldn't explain it away with it dealing with race? So what have been the major policy issues? Well, because there's like immigration and the war on terror have been like the two biggest issues of the past 20 years, haven't they? And then coronavirus. I'm going to try and blow my nose here again. It's driving me crazy. When we defund the police, we don't defund them in one. No, they totally are, though. It's like, what are some other issues? I mean, there's taxes. I don't know if you can really demonstrate openness or closedness through tax policies, can you? It really always comes down to it seems to me that when we're talking about the openness trait, that it comes down to openness to new ideas and new people in particular. So liberals tend to be more open, ergo they tend to support the non-American group of people in a particular thing. So when it comes to immigration, they think, oh, we should just let everybody in, right? So the question is, why are they not open with the virus? You get what I mean? Which is to say that so Uzi's theory on that having to do with race, that seems to me to just be an argument that liberals are more open. Liberals are more open and are more likely to support the cause of groups that they aren't a part of. It's about control in the case of the virus. It could be. So one thing, for instance, that I seem to think happening is there's another trait called conscientiousness, right? And the conscientious people tend to be more organized and so forth. And the argument has been in the past that Republicans tend to be more conscientious. And, like the prime example of somebody that is extremely conscientious is Mitt Romney. And when I look at things today, it seems to me that Donald Trump is not conscientious at all, and that his movement is not conscientious. In fact, his movement is an explicit rejection of the world that conscientious people have built. And I think that there are fallacies. There are things that the conscientious people will tend to do that end up being negative in the long run. And if you give them just like if you give any kind of ideology or personality complete control over things, there's going to be certain types of problems, Yeah. That's why so many politicians are having trouble giving up the things that can control as things improve. Yeah, so I think that the conscientious person would be more likely to want to keep the strict controls in place, right? So my theory is on this one then is that reaction to the virus has more to do with conscientiousness than it does openness. And that contrary to popular belief that the Republican Party is switching to become the non-conscientious party, and the Democrats has become the conscientious party, largely due to the influx of base support from tech companies. And as such, they were not likely to support getting rid of the restrictions. Yeah? The conundrum with political psychology is why would people be supportive of a government that wants more power and control over one that doesn't? Yeah. Well, yeah. And so my theory on that one is this, Uzi. I don't think it's directly personality per se, because there's a really strong, when you talk about that particular opinion in particular, there is the strongest correlation that I see. The strongest correlation that I see is population density. The more population density there is, the more likely a person is to support the government having a lot of power. Why do you think that is? Well, I think it's because when you're in a very densely populated area, you are just more likely to see the need for it because it's like all around you. You can't go in New York and not see, the police and the public services everywhere, right? And so you're gonna naturally trend towards all of these things that we're able to do because of a strong and complicated government are good, ergo it should be applied everywhere. Whereas if you live in the, particularly out here in the West, where it's like you're all able to be very independent, the last thing you want is the government to come in and mess with that. If you think about it realistically, what our government did in Florida, he relinquished control quickly. Yeah, he did. It was really quite... For all of this stuff about people saying Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy and all that nonsense, he had the ability, the opportunity to be really, what do we say, despotic, to really seize power with the pandemic. And frankly, a number of times in places where he could have done these sorts of things. And nothing would have stopped him. And he every time that happened, he chose the other way, much to his detriment in some instances. Oh, what's going on here in Discord? First time liquidity is just never the same. Yeah, don't use MT5. This guy was like, I wish I could get away with MT5. No, don't use MT5. think I finally hope that gets my nose to stop itching. Oh, okay, so they did touch 25 there a little bit. Printed some more tether. And that's why we moved up. You know what? No, I don't know if I want to segue to that. I think you guys are still in on the personality thing. I don't know. I feel a little disorganized in this conversation because it is an area where I feel like that I had some theories about the way that people work that don't seem to be panning out, huh? I'll tell you here. I'll tell you one last thing about all of that. Here's the one thing that I do know. Trying to coerce people into doing what you want never works out in the long run. It never works out in the long run. Every experience in my life has borne that out. That the more that you try to control people, the more they fight against it. This whole thing with the coronavirus, if everybody just shut up about it, when it all came out and they were like, okay, you have to wear masks. And what was the first thing that you had? You had all of these snooty liberals on Facebook being like, people aren't wearing masks. You need to wear masks, yada, yada. Okay, here's like the thing here. I'm in Utah. It's like one of the places where you would expect the people to be least supportive of masks. Okay. When I went out, I never saw somebody without a mask. I never saw somebody fighting against it. These people that were like, actively trying to undermine the mask thing, they don't exist in as far as I'm concerned. If they're out there, they're a really, really small minority. The majority of people went along with it and just said, it's fine. Just get along to get along, even if I don't think that it works. And if people on Facebook had just not said anything, then it wouldn't have been a thing. It was only because they were trying to use masks as like a coercing you into doing something that it was a problem. Yeah. And now, Uzi's going to say it. And now they don't want to give the mask up. So not because they're scared, but because they all have to maintain moral superiority socially with minimal effort. They identify with masks now. Yes, because the real thing is they're trying to control people's behavior through coercion. It never works. It's the same thing with the information control. It's unacceptable in their view that certain people believe in conspiracy theories and things that are objectively not true. And their opinion is that we have to control media so that those people don't believe those things. That will never work. It makes it worse. Stop doing it. That's the last thing I'm going to say about that. Okay, so Either Ader asked, whatever happened to that theory that Tether drives Bitcoin? So I think that it's still very much a thing. So since we have been streaming here, a $1 billion print came through on Tether, and what do you know? We're up from 3,500 to 3,600. GOED, day traders trying to short squeeze and they rained 200 million equity raise at the close. Ouch. Now they're down 70%. Oh, hoo, hoo. You never got sick. I mean, I had the virus. It wasn't bad, but no. So on the Tether thing. So first of all, Tether prints still very much correlate with Bitcoin action. Okay. And when we've had severe drops, there usually aren't prints. But there's something else to this. Something that I find really curious about Tether prints is the time at which they happen. So, I do not see Tether prints, the way that I would suspect it to be is like if it's $1 billion, then it should be something that's like we get a certain regular amount of people depositing money and we get a certain regular amount of people withdrawing money. And so we have to issue new currency on a regular basis and it would be on a regular, consistent schedule. Right? The fact that the Tether prints seem to happen all at once, billions of dollars at a time, and that they always seem to happen at critical points in Bitcoin, especially when they're on the downturn, suggests to me manipulation. It suggests to me that they're not printing it because they had a lot of people deposit money or something like that. I don't think that it's like is it like this hedge fund that has $1 billion calls over to them and says, hey, we need to buy it like right now and we're going to put more money in, and then Tether prints it within a minute and then it stops price? I mean, is that what's going on? Because I think that if this was run properly, that wouldn't be what's going on. You know what I mean? And more to the point, I am skeptical about it being done with $1 billion at a time, right? These funds are doing a couple million, not $1 billion. That's a ridiculous number. And given that the Tether market cap is now like, several dozen $1 billion, I don't believe it. I don't believe that they have that much money. But I digress. It's interesting that there is here on Friday when those options expire that they're failing back to 3,500 is telling. So Tether is how they inflate Bitcoin, like how exactly. That's exactly what is happening, Etherator. Bitcoin is going down, and so they say, well, nobody's deposited US dollars in our bank account, but we'll just print some Tether and buy Bitcoin with it. And then they turn around and they say that their reserves are backed with the Bitcoin that they bought, or it's backed with banknotes. Because it's not in cash. Frankly, if you're doing it right, I think that the vast majority of it should be in cash. It's super sketchy. It really is. I don't see how anybody looks at the Tether thing and isn't at least concerned. Like it's really hard to prove malfeasance with the evidence that we have, but there's certainly enough to be suspicious. And it was enough for law enforcement to get involved and investigate them. And then in the end, they didn't really fully do the investigation. They made an agreement and kind of let it run on a little bit more. And now we're getting back to the point where the law enforcement is supposed to be checking with them. And we don't really get to know what's happening in the courts. But in the next 2 or 3 weeks, there could be more news surrounding Tether, and we'll see what happens. It could get interesting, though. The timing of the crash too, I think, could be related. So if I was a big whale, if I was a really, really big whale, I wouldn't want to be holding risk going into that event, because I personally think that Tether is full of crap, right? So I'm going to cash out before that happens. So kind of looks to me like some people cashed out up at 60,000, and then a bunch of other people stopped out when it came down. And so now you've kind of got this issue where you've got to get a ton more people to buy back in to bring it to all new all-time highs, and I don't know how you get that. You would have to attract a ton of new users all at once to make it happen. The Federal Reserve should... Well, it's not the Federal Reserve, really. It's the SEC. So the problem I think that's going on is that you got there's a number of government agencies that could be getting involved in here, and they're not. And on one hand, there definitely seems to be an approach that they don't want to just like kill it off. You know, they don't want everybody to come in and say, oh, Bitcoin would have worked if it wasn't for the government coming in and squashing it. That's what they want to say, right? But I also think that some people in the government are benefiting from it, you know? There's a sense of responsibility in the financial community for the community as a whole is not small, is nearly nil. Well, you got to understand something here. There's a great lie that is told, particularly on the progressive side, about financial crises. And this lie is that financial crises are primarily the fault of greedy individuals. It's total bullshit. I know I'm taking like an extreme position here that a lot of people won't agree with, but I'm telling you this idea, okay, like the 2008 crisis in particular, this idea, the 2008 crisis didn't need to happen. It only happened because people were greedy. Bullshit. It happened because the regulations and the market structure was set up to cause it to happen. And it was going to happen one way or another. If I didn't come in and say, oh, here's a way that I can make money from by buying up housing, mortgage-backed securities, okay, it was going to happen because the system has been set up that that's the most effective thing. So remember that one. So should you feel a sense of responsibility for a financial crisis? No. It's not anybody's fault. It's not a failure of individual people. It's the failure of a system. That's why it's called systemic risk. Yeah. What is fisting? Let's not talk about that. Look it up on Urban Dictionary. Wait, where did that come from? That wasn't anything that we said in here, was it? No. It's not necessarily that Tether is the problem to solve per se, then it's that any infinite printable coin that has a modicum of value can be a vehicle to manipulate Bitcoin. Then exactly. I mean, Tether is just the big issue one because like every exchange has it, right? How do we know when the moon is reached? Asks News Squawk. Okay, so the treasuries are moving up, but on the initial move from the open, the E-mini is moving down. Oh, what is going on here? Whoa. So at 20, so kind of the area that I was kind of having issues with it, over here at 25, there was some really significant absorption above it. Do you see that it took 11,000 and 13,000 contracts to get through those price levels, but it stayed up there, and now we're moving up to highs, and it's squeezing, and they took another 3 ticks very quickly. And that again happening as the E-mini is moving down. I'm not seeing other correlations. In fact, the Japanese yen is not Well, oh, okay. The Japanese yen is reversing and is starting to see a move up. The US dollar is moving down. Oh, also the euro is doing the same thing. And gold and silver is going up too. Whoa. Oh. Did you delete it? Oh, you did. Ah. That's funny, Win. Oh, by the way, while I'm thinking about it, so yesterday I started a new project that I need help with, and maybe you would be interested. So the project would basically involve doing some research and writing things. So if any of you guys are interested, and it would be specifically about fraud. Okay, it would be about fraud and scams. So if you're interested, send a message to Seth at ProtonMail, speculator.Seth at ProtonMail.com. Because I kind of started getting into it, and I thought through it. I think it's a good idea, but I'm not ready for it to be like a public thing. I feel like that the margin of error for this sort of thing, you need a really good boost at the beginning. So we need like a ton of content at the first, and then anyways, but I thought that might be something that you would be interested in. Okay, so they're a really strong bid here, and they are hitting into 27, and there's still 3,000 on it. Yeah. Well, it's just things you can look up. I don't know. There's just been a lot of information that's kind of been floating around about certain things that I really wish I had written down at the time that it was happening, because when I go and I search for it on the internet, it's like it's not as much stuff as I think there should be. So you say GME is popping again? Well, I bet the AMC thing is going wild, right? Let's come and look. That would be, so something's going on here for sure. Okay, so we should take one there. Okay, that's not what I expected. You're saying GME popping off again, but it's like 262. It's not crazy. AMC, on the other hand, yeah. AMC is going crazy. Tesla also seems to be taking a pretty big jump on the open. Let's switch this around. Let's make this one AMC. Let's make this one GME. Man, look, they just rocked. So I took one off at 27 because of the absorption, but look, they just like rocketed through there, man. Okay. Bro, that was just wild buying. Who knows? Adrian says in Discord. Yeah, dude, I was like, what? What? I'm a little nervous now, to be honest with you. ARK is up 1.26%. That's not what I want to see right there yet. Okay. Well, I'm happy with that either way. That gives me almost a $250 profit on the day. Oh, no. Well, I'll tell you what it is, okay? But I'm not going to give you the URL. So basically it's a wiki like Wikipedia, but it's dealing specifically with fraud. So it's a place for us to record all of the shady behavior that we see going around. So if you're interested in editing a wiki about it, because I think what I want to do is we'll make a bunch of articles so there's a good base of information to start with. And then we'll make it public. Because what I'm concerned about is once you make it public and people start posting stuff on there, especially if they start posting stuff that are like suspicious activity and claims, but there hasn't been explicit legal action about in the past, which would be, I think, the threshold for like confirmed fraud, right? You bear the risk of like being sued or something like that. So you got to be able to build it up fast, I think. I'm interested to see here if I would have gotten filled at 28.5. You think you would waste too much time moderating and weed leading? Yeah, probably. But that's okay. You got a community behind it. And I think I know a couple of places where I get interested people, but I just think we need to have something to start with first. So that's why I'm not making the URL public yet. But I have it set up. There's definitely a community for it, right? There's like YouTube channels about this, and there's blogs about this, and but there's not a wiki about it. I went and I did some searching, so I think we do a wiki. Still no fill at 28.5 yet. 10,000 into 28 though is a strong amount. Are we seeing a flight from the dollar going into the weekend or something? Something's going on. Okay, so we're going to get the PCE, we're going to get the PMI number here in a second. Okay. Still nothing there. I think I did the right thing. Like the chasing it, sharks coming in and chomping on it sort of thing happens. So most of the opportunity in there is done for. Doesn't mean that it won't take another leg up. It was just I caught that like it was good from the flow. Do you trade crypto? I don't day trade crypto. I will swing it on certain low risk situations, but that is not now. They've got a ways to go before it gets to my spot. Yeah, so if you go to patreon.com, you can see I have a model, and you can see if you go back a week, you can see the old posts. Oh, okay. 75 spot 2 versus estimated 68 for the Chicago PMI. So the number was good. Market doesn't seem to be reacting too strongly to it. Thing is, that number is released early, but at the early time, there wasn't much of a reaction either. Yeah, patreon.com/speculatorseth. And if you go back a week old, the posts become public, and then you can see what I was saying about it. The basic gist of it is that it's been saying that you should be out for a long time now. And it finally crashed. But it hasn't crashed to a point at which the model says that it's like a really low risk opportunity. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just noticing that because 42.14 is the high, and that open is there and everything, that if I were to reach my target, that they probably blow right through it. So it's probably better for me to move it up. Of course, that also means that there's a good chance that they're going to come back up to that 42.13 area and going to have issues again. This isn't just turning full on bullish. He had some good movement there, but it's still mixed. Well, still a lot being absorbed there at 12.5 and 08, 28, but they never got the fill at 28.5. Guidance on White House budget proposal today will contain no new spending proposals beyond what the administration has already put out. It's hot in here in this room today. Oh, yeah, so we get the consumer sentiment stuff now at the top of the hour, huh? Consumer sentiment final 82.9. Well, it looks like that particular trade, I thought it was okay. I thought that the number was okay, but maybe too many people on board that one. I don't know, or something else going on. I do suspect something else going on. Need to come over here and take a look at the yen. No. Was not related to the yuan. The VIX came down when that happened, though. I don't know, man. There was a lot of curve flattening when that happened, too. Smarts today in chat, too, by the way. I'm just thinking about that Treasury trade because I took it off of the news. I think that was the right call. I don't know if that's why it moved up. I think that one may have just been really good luck. I do. So the thing is, well, okay, so gold is going up because the yield is decreasing, basically, right? Yield is in, because we're seeing the yield decreasing and the dollar moving down at the same time. That's being really good for gold and silver right now. But the thing that I see more is just like everything, all of the currencies across the board moved up. So it's like some big currency trade going just into the weekend for some reason. Perhaps. Seeing that kind of a rush in treasuries is just not really necessarily what I expected, because I was kind of expecting the demand for treasuries to kind of even out here. Yeah, I think that probably will still happen, but Adrian says not luck, Seth. That was a news reaction where they have an impulse down and then a strong move up. Well, yeah, but then why did it not happen until an hour after the news? That one's a hard. I'm not saying it's not plausible. It's just hard to prove if that was the case, because it was this move that happened like long after. They just took a while to squeeze the high. Well, you might be right. That does happen from time to time in the treasury, doesn't it? You'll get this move. Sometimes the treasuries are really slow about it for some reason. But I don't know. It just makes me wonder, like, why is it so inefficient in that case? But perhaps the reason that it played out that way was because, somebody had a position on because of the PCE. And then because the PCE number didn't mean anything, they weren't in a rush to exit the position, and they had to do it slowly. Oh, when you get buying like that, you don't ask questions, you just stay along, huh? I don't know, man. So here's the other thing: is that was a 40K move. That was a 40,000 lot move up. There's got to be something more to it than that. That is like that is somebody really, really big needs to buy treasuries for some reason. Currency move could explain it. A sovereign wealth fund could explain it. So why I was looking for the Chinese yuan was I was like, are they doing the operations? Are they, you know, worried about the yuan? But then that wouldn't make sense because they were worried about the yuan when the dollar was dropping too much and the dollar just dropped. So. And it didn't really seem to be correlated with the S&P 500 either. It really wasn't. I guess the S&P 500 did sell initially, and that's when it happened. But I think that probably a combination of the news and like month-end rebalancing probably makes more sense. You know what else? Actually, let's see here. I need a Bloomberg terminal. Make sure that you give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon, and go ahead and join the channel. If you click the join button below, and there's some options to do a monthly donation. There's $1 if you're not doing the $1 man, so that you can use the cool smileys and like, why are we even here? But, and that money can go towards a Bloomberg terminal. I don't think we'll ever get there, but. Okay, so hold up. We get this number here. Okay, so it's slightly lower than the expectation, but it's basically in line. Well, with the news out of the way, they did make a little bit of a push up there, but it's sputtering out already. Can you see I can see the links. I can. So there's you. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, that makes it even more confusing. Okay. So I'm looking at the Treasury Analytics tool here, and notice the difference between the cheapest to deliver security yield and the on the run yield. There's almost spot 3 difference. So then if we come down here into this, okay, the implied repo rate is spot 29. Basis net of carry is less than 1. I don't know, man. And the DVO one, oh my, is pretty high. 4 ticks almost. Oh, wait. Why is the... Now, that's not right either. $1.30. 3013. Okay, no, that's right. That is the cheapest to deliver. I guess the futures DVO one is different from the cash DVO one. So there's like a real premium for the futures right now. Something's going on. And they're up back. They did fill at 29. Gonna take my E-mini trade off because it's still not working out. Okay, I need to check the air conditioning here because it's getting really hot. It says it's 70 out there. Someone really wants the S&P 500 to go down. I don't know. I think with that one, Messiak, that the markets are just kind of vulnerable to a move right now. It doesn't look like it's taking a whole lot to get it to move. Like what I feel like is going on right here in the E-mini in particular was that there was a whole lot of anticipation that the numbers that we would get would be significant and change the narrative in some way. And they basically were all in line. Every single one of them was close to in line. So I don't know. Man, why is it so hot? I'm going to go check the temperature in the hall. I don't know. You know what I think one of the biggest heat generating things in my room is, though, is this monitor. I don't think, well, this one is okay, but this one in particular seems hot. Kind of wondering if I should be buying the Treasury here again, man. Like, it's all a little cray-cray, right? I didn't really see anything actionable. I did get when I got out before it was the right choice. Whether or not they go back up. Huh. You see that? And the 30 years stepping up to the plate. Like they look like they're gonna smash it. The S&P 500 is still struggling. It could be in the S&P 500. One thing I'm concerned about, we do seem to be pegged to 4,200. And without a strong news number to move us away from that, right? Now we do have Biden's budget later today, so there's still some volatility out there. But I suppose that at the moment, there's maybe not a clear reason to buy, just because we're above the 4,200. I didn't check a couple of things here still. I'm still researching. I'm still looking around. I feel like there's a piece of information that I'm missing. AMC explodes as frenzied retail buying makes it most traded stock in the entire market. I'm going to be funny if the AMC ends up being the big one, bigger than GameStop. Oh, there was some comments why major players in the cryptocurrency space might have it down. Well, let's see what they say about the PCE. While Americans' income and spending is normally the headline-making data, this morning's release will focus the eyes on the Fed's favorite inflation indicator, the PCE deflator. The headline deflator rose 3.6 year over year, the fastest rate or price increases since 2008. Even more notably, the core PCE deflator scored 3.1%, which is hotter than the 2.9% year over year that was expected and the hottest print since May of 1992. With the highest month-over-month rise in the core deflator since 9/11. However, back in income and spending land, the picture was very mixed, with incomes crashing 13.1% month-over-month and spending rising just 0.5% month-over-month after the stimmies run dry. Yes, That's the biggest month-over-month crash in incomes ever, which sent the savings rate plunging. Yes, it did. Okay. Consumer buffer is almost gone. Personal savings rate plunges by 50% as Americans do what they do best, spend their savings. So let's summarize. Prices are rising at their fastest pace in almost 30 years, and incomes just plunged by the most ever. Uh-huh. I see. So are the Treasuries buying here on some sort of sneak move theory that more stimulus is going to be required? Bitcoin tested 40,000 for the fourth time in the last 4 days and failed again, tumbling to 35,000 this morning before a small buy the FD bid appeared. XRP fell 12% in price and became the 7th largest cryptocurrency by market cap. The coin was supplanted by Dogecoin, now the 6th largest with a market cap of 41 billion. Good grief. Tony, good morning. How are you? Interesting. So it's showing this chart here. I'll show you. Zero Hedge's got a chart here where they're comparing the Wall Street Bet short squeeze basket to the Bitcoin basket and showing that there is some degree of correlation between them, but that they are diverging widely here, as though the retail traders are abandoning Bitcoin and are moving over to AMC. Some have suggested Bank of Japan's Kajora sparked some selling overnight after citing its volatility. He dismissed Bitcoin as barely used as a means of settlement, adding that the vast majority of Bitcoin trading is speculative and volatility is extraordinarily high. Burger Swap, the Binance Smart Chain-based decentralized exchange, was hacked for $7.2 million overnight. Oh my. We can add that into our wiki, huh? Why is AMC squeezing? Well, it actually has a very high short interest, was my understanding. So let's go and look at the numbers on that when we finish this. ARK Investment CEO Kathy Wood attempted to calm down fears regarding stricter scrutiny over Bitcoin entities. She said it is impossible to shut down cryptocurrencies, reiterating her views that regulators would eventually need to wrap their minds around blockchain assets. Yeah, but the issue is that if the Bitcoin market is being artificially inflated higher, then the introduction of regulation will will expose that and cause the markets to move much lower. The Treasuries, by the way, are hyper thick here. 6K is a lot. That's a lot. Okay, so the place to look this stuff up is Morningstar. Short interest. So they're saying that the float is 47 million, but there's 94 million shares short. Oh, curious. Okay. So here's something showing the AMC short interest. And it is showing here that this is all-time highs. That there was March. That was when all of the crazy happened. And then look, they've increased their shorts. Even though it is it's 21% of the float. It's not like 100%. Okay, so Tony, one thing to note here with AMC is that, yeah, it's not as much of the float as GameStop was, but what was happening in GameStop, where it was like 100% of the float, is like highly unusual, right? 21% of the float being short is still a ton, and is still enough for there to be a squeeze of sorts, right? If we come here and let's just copy this and come over and see what GME is. GME. There's only 11 million shares short, but that's 29% of the float. Okay. So another thing you got to think about is the way that they calculate like these shares outstanding in the float, and everything like changes. So, okay, could they have covered over the past few days with the uplift? Totally. Absolutely. So I hadn't really been paying attention to this one too much, just because, I don't know. Like when it was the GameStop thing, I kind of caught onto it early and was like, well, let's try playing this. With AMC, one, I'm not so crazy about AMC's future anyways. But I also think that I was just a little, with the way that the GameStop thing worked out. Like, one of the things is I got a lot of traffic from that, and then it just disappeared, So I was like, oh, jumping on that train don't really help the stream. So what's the point? I should just focus on the thing that I do well, the Treasury. So, but I guess the thing that I would take away from this is that the amount of short interest, like the amount of money that is short, matters a lot. And that when you start trying to game out like how many shorts are left and that sort of a thing, that it seems more reliable to rely on that total amount short number rather than like what percentage of the float it is, because the percentage of the float changes. And that screws up your whole calculation. So to get a better reference, you should look at the amount, the short interest amount. Right. Short ratio is 2. Shares short change is 8%. That's okay. You're from Australia? Oh, good. I like Australians. Dude, there's this guy on TikTok that's an Australian, and apparently what he does for a living is he makes like surfboards or something like that, which is kind of funny. But he is a historian, so he's become quite popular on TikTok for explaining history, and people ask him history questions. Well, people started asking him history questions about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, and I guess he got reported for it. Man, he got banned for a week, but then he came back. I was glad to see him back. So the Treasury here came back, and I'm wondering, So as it came back, was still some evidence of flattening. So the 2 and 10s have flattened, but the knob spread has kind of steepened. Yeah, that's a little bit weird. They're kind of going in opposite directions again. Steepened, flattened. Z in here in this spread. Front leg is ZT, back leg is ZN. Then in the knob spread, the front legs should be ZN. And the back leg is ZB. But they always seem to be opposite of each other. And I feel like I'm not doing something wrong. I don't know, man. I don't think I'm reading my spreads right. Yeah, that 9K offer at 29 is like, what the heck? What the heck? Well, I mean, they're pretty thick right now anyways, like 6K, 8K. So there must be a couple of big guys decided to get involved today. I'm like getting so hot now that I'm starting to sweat. I don't know what the deal is. The humidity is dropping here. Jay not doing so hot today, apparently. Whereas other days he was getting 60%. Today, well, I guess it's not true, but he's lost twice. He's only taken 2 that he's lost, so. Are the friends, the Chinese, financing our Democrats' new dreams? I don't know what's going on. Okay, so there's a 10K there. Oh, wait, did it disappear? I forget where it was at now. Oh, was it at, well, let's come back here and see if we can see it. 29, yeah, it was 29, 2000 pulled. I mean, I'm tempted to, like, I think speculatively I could potentially buy 28.5, but the E-mini seems destined to go bet down and peg 4,200. The 2-year and the 10-year is 2-1. So then I come in here and I say in the spread, ZT, ZN, 2-1. I'm just going to try redoing it. So T2 CN1. And then the knob is 5-2 right now. Which is also what I have listed. I don't know. So I don't know if it has something to do with the way that with the way that the spread is right now or something, but when I go and I look at it, the knob spread has steepened and the 10-year the 2 and 10 has flattened a bit. And they often seem to be opposite of each other. But as such, I cannot I just feel like sometimes I'm getting on the wrong side of the spread. That's all. That's why I care about it. I don't know. So you notice that we haven't heard a whole lot out of the whole Iran agreement deal? It sounds like they're having trouble getting it happen, and so they stopped talking about it again. Maybe if it doesn't happen, they're hoping that nobody notices. Yeah? Look, I'm not the only person wondering why bonds popping off so hard today. I'm sure we'll get answers later. So type something here. And there they are back up to the highs. Yeah, I thought 28.5 to 29. 30 maybe. Yeah. but I never saw something that like gave me a really clear idea that it was safe to buy it. I never saw like what appeared to be a mispricing to me. Yeah, I don't know. Talking about like the whole that all of that mess in the Middle East is a little I feel is a little dangerous. So I don't know if we don't really know a whole lot about what's going on, so best to just leave it alone, I guess. It was worth talking about when it was like, they're trying to make a peace deal. Like, why? Well, okay. That's where we're at now. How many contracts do you think will trade at 30.5? Just leave it to carry, right? Okay, so it looks like what's going on here in AMC. AMC took off on really hardcore on the open, but has since leveled off. Coinbase down today. Tesla down a little bit. AMC is still 15% up on the day. Look at how much volume is trading in that thing. That's crazy. Yeah, so there was, I just reiterate to that question, like, was there enough volume for those shorts to cover? Oh yeah. I mean, that is the thing that I don't think that people realize, is that all of this noise that they're creating when they jump into these stocks kind of helps those guys get out. Of course, it still moves up because they're getting out, but that's why once you start to see this insane volume, you kind of got to think about getting out, I think. But they don't do that. They just hold it no matter what. Looks like a level break setup here in the Treasury 50-50. Given the circumstances. Do you think bailing on AMC, my buddy has? Well, I don't think that I know enough to say anything about it. But what I will say is that when you come into an asset like this, if the thesis is that it's a short squeeze, let's say that we're in at 14, okay? You've doubled your money up to 30. And you're getting absolutely bonkers volume today. If the thesis is a short squeeze, you do have to consider that this might be your exit, or that it would be at least a good place to take profits, because the whole issue, as we saw with GameStop, is that it's not entirely clear to retail traders when the shorts have covered and when the trade is over. And it will come back and people will say, this is just a manipulation, or it's just a natural pullback and the shorts haven't been squoze. But I think that my take after what we learned from GameStop is that when you start seeing that crazy amount of volume, that it's enough for them to get out, and that it's probably prudent if it's a short-term trade, right? So because we don't get to see the cumulative delta sort of numbers, nor can we see the live number of shorts. I mean, we'll be able to see number of shorts to well, was it yesterday? I don't know. They get a report, but it only shows you what it was last week. So by the time you can confirm what actually happened, it's too late. Pigs get slaughtered. There you go. I only say, like, if you've got 92 million shares short and you've got an asset here that is trading 273 million shares a day, just in the morning, could they get out? Yeah. You get what I mean? So it just kind of goes back to this other thing, which is like, if there's an inefficiency in the market, you don't want to be in the one that everybody knows about, right? Because what's going to happen is they're going to take it too far. So the inefficiency in the market right now is that there's more shorts than there should be. So they're going to squeeze them out. But that means that you should have been long here at like 10 and 12, not 30, right? Now everybody is picking up on the inefficiency. If you were in early, then you would have made money. But the more retail traders that pile on this, the easier it is going to be for it to drop. Well, the E-mini did drop down almost to 4,200, and it seems like they're handling the drop pretty well. Treasuries still unable to break 30.5 with the pretty big iceberg up there. We'll see if they flood into 31. Given the amount of volume that we've seen higher today, it's certainly possible, but I cannot say for certain that we're in like clear trend up mode where that trade of buying like 30 and trying to take it off at 31 would actually work. I think that it's too tight, so it's now more of a 50-50. Down put's very expensive. Yeah, but those guys with the puts, if you put them, you buy puts out 3 weeks from now, you probably could, well, it would depend on what they're pricing them at, huh? You would probably have to buy puts really far out of the money to really make money on it. Because when those numbers are high, it doesn't just mean that it's expensive. It also means that it has to move more for you to make money. So they think it's coming down. Makes sense. That's what it should be. Hot tip for you, whatever I'm doing, do the opposite. Did you see this thread on Futures.io? They were talking about why somebody asked, why does it seem like we're always on the same side? And one guy was coming in with the theory that, like, they'll try and stop you out. Well, so, I mean, that's something that kind of happens, but that I feel like that's way too simplistic of an analysis for it. Like the thing is that from what I've been able to see, they don't have to like intentionally go out to stop you out in order to do that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? It just kind of naturally happens because of the way that people trade and because of the way that markets trade, you know. But at the same time, there's also this thing like I was doing the other day where I would take a treasury trade and it didn't work over and over and over again, remember? But it was like we were in a range for one and it was like really tight action. So it was like maybe you're seeing an inefficiency there, but then too many people tried to take advantage of that inefficiency, creating an inefficiency in and of itself and then creating a little bit of the spike that stops them out, right? That's what goes on. So I think that we have to kind of consider that here because somebody is definitely making a huge monster trade here. But do we have a real inefficiency to trade it off of? At the moment, not. Maybe you could try and take a tick between 30 and 30.5, but you would have had to have had it on earlier. Right now, it seems unclear. And since the EMI is not going anywhere, I'm just kind of like, I guess no reason to do anything. Joe Biden, is that from the Hill? When was that? That must not have been just now. Biden saying I don't have anything against anybody on Wall Street or against anybody making $1 million, but Wall Street did not build this country. The middle class built this country and unions built the middle class. It's kind of weird to me how the left lives in this world where like Jimmy Carter's administration never happened. You know what I mean? Like what he's saying is not wrong per se. Okay. I think unions are an important part of our market to keep the labor side of the market from just getting steamrolled. But there's also been some really significant problems with those unions. And, you know, in the 70s, that really got exposed. And what we found was that when we moved away from all of that stuff and just focused on, you know, not being in small businesses' way, that was more effective, you know? And Democrats like just completely ignore it. It's like they don't think that the prosperity that we saw during the Reagan years was a thing. If they even know that it happened, you know? So then he comes out and he does these things and the market goes down and they're like, you know, they don't get it. Have a plan. So I think that we can, yeah. Let's change today's title to Treasuries Panic Bid After PCE. Was the Chicago PMI number, right? Yeah. Should we put that? And then after PCE, PMI, and consumer sentiment. No, that's too long. We'll just put that. Oh, and it's the 28th. I had the title wrong. I get today off, so I don't have to explicitly stop at the top of the hour, but I will, because I don't know. Like, the work is not what are we going to do, right? I think it'd be better for me to stop and focus on some other things. So what should I focus on here? What do I got? What is my list? Do I have a list? I have a list. I have a list, a bunch of places. I have a bunch of lists. I should look at this list first, though. Yeah, I think we're okay on all of that. So that, you know what? I hadn't posted many of those shorts. I had posted some stuff on TikTok, but I didn't bring them over to here because I didn't think that they were, if it's like specific to replying to stuff on TikTok and stuff like that, then I don't put them. Or if it's like some of the advice that I kind of more talk about in the stream anyways, I don't necessarily post those. Yeah, I'm just gonna make a new list. Cool. So I got those, and then I got some videos. So probably I should spend some time writing videos today, and maybe I'll have some time to record them this weekend. Because I got my teleprompter, so I should be able to do that, and I should be able to be more efficient with the videos. Should also think a little bit more about how I can do like daily videos that would be fun. Yeah, you can do stuff like that, but there's also some house projects around here, so we'll see if my wife wants me to do those. Remember, I will be here on Monday and will be programming. Oh, that's the other one I need to put on there. Risk Control Center. I'll make sure that I have everything that we need to do that. I think that that's what we're going to focus on, is we're going to program the Risk Control Center on Monday. So that should be fun. We could also do research. Oh, yep. Another thing that I want to do on there is Treasury pricing models. Okay. That one I'm probably going to do in R or a spreadsheet. Maybe it'd be better to do it in Excel. What about those polls? I never did a poll. Yeah, Monday is Memorial Day. It's also my birthday, by the way. So come bring me a present. No, you don't need to bring. You already bought me a present. No, I bought the present. I got the teleprompter is what you guys got me. I used that from the profits from the stream to buy a teleprompter. But then I bought myself a keyboard. I've got myself a keyboard. I'm quite enjoying it. I don't know what it is about having the piano keys on there, but I feel like I'm get way better ideas with that. So that's fun. I feel like there's other things on my list that I want, but I don't know. You know what's so funny? That's not so funny, but it's kind of an interesting spot that you come into. Is that when you talk about wanting things, because, you know, like if you go out and you buy something, or even if you go and you research buying something, there's like a certain amount of dopamine that you get from it. You know what I mean? Like it's fun to do that. And I like to go and do that sort of a thing and just not get the thing. Because usually I'll get to the end of it and be like, yeah, but my life won't be really different if I get that thing. Okay. Oh, there's a couple of things that I could think of that I could buy that are really crazy expensive that would change my life. If I, you know, like if I had a Bloomberg terminal, that would probably change the way that I trade significantly, right? I think there's some stuff that I would need to learn before I would really be able to use that, because I really need to learn more about Treasury basis trades. But, you know, like that's a really extreme example, right? Beyond that, I can't really think of things that are like I would really, really like to have that I would think would really matter. Like the stuff that's on my list now are things that are like kind of would be fun, but I think you screw around with it for a little bit and then you forget about it. Like building a new computer with a really insane CPU, for instance, you know, that sort of a thing. So when it comes to like wants, because I'm not really like a material person, I guess, I come to this point where I have all of the things that I really wanted very easily. But I also think that it's like a development process, because what has really happened, I think, is not that I have everything that I want, but that the wants have become more sophisticated, if you will. Like the things that I want now are things like assets, and like I would really, really like to have enough equity built into this YouTube channel to hire people, right? Like I'm thinking about that wiki. I would like to hire people. I would like to pay somebody money to just do nothing but write wiki articles and moderate. And I would like to pay somebody to just do nothing but be a lawyer for that operation, right? I would love to have somebody that helps me write scripts. Like I'll write the scripts and then they'll review them and make them more interesting, right? I would love to have somebody to help me record. But I guess I would also like to have, I think at some point I want to like make a financial news network. You know what I mean? Like get together with a small group of YouTubers and create like an actual financial news network of sorts on YouTube. That would be really cool, right? We'd all have our own individual channels, but then there would be a main channel that would be more about talk show and reporting on the news. Could you control some armed drones? Yeah, I have that. You know, I have drones on my list. That's kind of on the list of things that's like, yeah, it would be kind of fun, but it's not like a really. That's a super idea. I think it is too. I don't think that I personally am to the spot where I would be able to pull that off. Mostly because we don't have the connections, I guess. I guess we need to be talking to people more, huh? I need to make better friends on the equity side is really what it comes down to, huh? Some friends that are way more fundamental. You know what? There's this guy on TikTok that reminds me of myself. I wish I could. I never remember anybody's name on TikTok. That's so funny. It's just like in real life. It's like I like these people. I don't know what their names are. He has the same kind of like attitude of like, you people are all stupid. Like with the whole Bitcoin thing, he is very adamantly anti-Bitcoin. and I find it entertaining, and it's a lot like myself. Maybe that's a bad thing to have, but you know what? You get what I'm saying. YouTube keeps sending Snowden into my feed. It's rather annoying, and so is he. The Snowden thing is interesting. I don't think you did the right thing, to be honest with you. I mean, leaking it is one thing that you can kind of question, because there's proper channels to report this sort of stuff. But if he had gone through the proper channels, nothing would have happened from it, right? So I think you could say maybe it was appropriate that he did that. But leaving the country and then going to Russia and accepting Russian asylum essentially was like a really bad move. Like, I guess he avoided going to prison and everything, but really what he should have done is he should have, he should be trying to negotiate go back to the United States, stand trial for the crime of leaking it, and to kind of prove out the legality of it, because I think that in that situation, maybe it is appropriate and legal for him to leak what he did. So you have to do that, and then, the president should pardon him if he gets convicted or something. But because he went over to Russia, now he has an additional set of crimes on him, right? Because maybe he gave the Russians information and stuff like that. So then now you have an additional problem on top of it, right? So yeah, I was a little disappointed with how that worked out. Anyways, this is my birthday, so you come back on Monday. We'll have fun. Part of my issue here, I'm sitting here, is like, nobody else is awake. So, There's some things in some of my indicators that I need to update too, but I always forget what they are. I'm always like, oh, I could change that, and then I forget about it. I don't write it down. I need to write things down. Okay. I kind of hoping maybe the Treasuries would go into that 31. Hey, look, they cleared 30.5, but look, they just keep stacking more on it. It's like, ugh. It will be interesting to see. Yeah, it's a long day left. It could just keep going. On a day like this could just go all day, right? So, but I digress. Probably the best thing to do right now is to just try and catch those little inefficiencies. There's one here in the ZB, but I'm not quite sure how you deal with that one, because you're not going to get a fill at 18, so you can't sell it. Certainly in the ZB, I wouldn't be buying 20. 666 there. Somebody better fix that. Somebody better buy the ZB right there so it doesn't say that. We should have a discussion one day on where and how to move size. I think, so Frontier, if you have an idea for an indicator, you should send it to me on Discord and I'll help you with that. Or we could do it on Monday. Because we have a thing that we want to work on, but sometimes we have the time to work on multiple things, and if people bring stuff up, I'm totally willing to look at it, especially if it's like a short thing that we can do at the beginning, because usually most indicators aren't really very difficult. But as for like how and where to move size, well, I think that we have kind of discussed a little bit of that, but since I don't have direct experience with moving size, I only know about it from a theoretical perspective. I don't know. I don't know how useful or of a discussion we can have on that. I don't know. Okay, guys, I'm going to get going. Y'all have a good day. We'll see you on Monday. And in the meantime, stay profitable, friends.